Hi everybody, welcome back to School of Scarlett. Today I have another message for you. So today's message is about the division that we are seeing everywhere around us. So we're going to be talking about division and separation and what that does to everyone as a collective and what the highest truth is. So when we see even current events happening in the world, whether we turn on the news or we hear about it from others, there always seems to be a side. There's this side and there's that side, and they're very, very different. And the more that we see things happening, the further and further apart that these groups and people get. We can even look at the comment section of many videos and we can see where people are thinking that they are right. And so they are saying that they are right and that this person is wrong and that it's a total division of thought. So I want to talk about that here today, that, we can get into this space where we think that we are right. We think that the other is wrong. And what ends up happening is division. And so some things happened in my own life here recently that brought this message forth. I put out daily intuitive messages based on things that happen in my daily life. And I won't go too far into it, but it has something to do with religion. And it has something to do with some religions that are actually very, very close together. Within Christianity themselves, I guess you would call them denominations. And so it was about, some girls that wanted to go to a church here in town. And, they were all excited about going, but the parents had a problem with this because it wasn't their denomination. They didn't want their children going to a church that was a little bit different than theirs. And it caused a huge problem where I began to see that there was deeper issues happening within those families. One of the mothers decided to allow her daughter to go, but she would secretly take her daughter and secretly attend this church session without her husband. And so now we're seeing division within the family. Now, of course, that can go deeper and deeper and deeper, but that's just an example of something simple that happens here in real life, something that I saw happen within my own community just recently. But we can see the division within politics. We can see the division within religion, within, sexuality and those sorts of things that are coming up now. We can see the division within what people think about finances, money, what people think about AI. We can go on and on and on. People will always find a way to get separate about situations when they think that they are right. And usually this separation is happening out of fear. When we are fearful about not knowing completely about the other side, we begin to defend our stance and think that we are right without really experiencing the other side. So when we actually go in and we experience the other side, most of the times we change our opinion, our strong opinion about that thing that we held. So I can tell you that earlier in my years, like maybe when I was around 18 to maybe 23 or so, I was very much into watching documentaries. And so a lot of them were very much about social issues and things like that. And I wouldn't say I was a full-on activist, but a lot of times I would choose a stance on something. And I would believe that wholly, and I would make my, changes in my life for that and, do that. Only to find out later in life, more recently in life, that the other side has their points as well. So I won't go into all of that, but almost every single one of those things that I believed was one way, I got to experience it a different way later on because life showed me that. It made me experience that through life experiences. So whether you want to, stay on one side or the other, it's not a big deal. Life will eventually show you everything. And hopefully if you make it to a nice old age, you will have probably dropped a lot of those strong beliefs that you held. So this comes with maturity as well, that we begin to see both sides and we can actually hold both sides and not really hold a judgment for them and be able to kind of find that middle path and see and discern things as they happen, as they really occur in our reality. Not just because someone else said it, not just because that's the way we were indoctrinated, not just because that's what our parents said and all of these things. We begin to hold our own opinions and our own beliefs about things based on the things that we actually have experienced in our own lives. So it's important to hold many perspectives at once. If we can only hold a few perspectives at once, then that's a really big sign that we are having trouble really discerning and seeing everything as a whole, because the highest level of reality is really that everything is one and nothing is separate. There is actually no separation. And the more that you experience that, and the more that you have those experiences, you will begin to see that everything around us, this world that, some people say is so horrible, is actually heaven on earth. And there is actually nothing wrong here. Everything is happening perfectly and in divine order. But until you can experience the kind of dichotomy of these things without holding a very strict perspective on just these one things, you're able to hold many perspectives. Then you will be able to experience the infinite nature of this divine reality. But if you only hold one stance, if you only believe this one thing, you're going to basically cut off so many other parts of yourself. You're not going to be able to have a full experience of life, because you're going to be stuck in this one experience of life when life is showing you many, many, many different experiences. So be open. We hear that so often, to be open. So when we hold one perspective, you can think of it like that's not actually the truth of reality, because the truth of reality isn't just that one thing that you believe. There's many things happening, and it's all infinitely accepted. So if you're only accepting one part of reality, you can see that kind of like a rock. And truth, infinite reality, the truth, the ultimate truth of life is like a river flowing, the water in a river. And you might hold this one belief, and you might cast your stones at this person because you think that they're wrong. You might post these comments because you think that they are wrong, and you might fight with these groups of people and post negative and harmful content and things about this other side because you don't think that they are right. That's essentially like putting that stone, that rock that is the very limited truth, in the center of the river, trying to block it. You can put more rocks. You could pile up rocks of things that you are trying to stop the truth from being seen completely. But you're not going to be able to silence the truth, because the truth is like a river. It is like water. It'll go over those rocks. It'll go around those rocks. It will create a new path for itself, but the truth will always prevail. The river will keep going and flowing. The truth will keep flowing. So it doesn't matter how hard you try to, indoctrinate the whole world with this one belief that you have, or you try to say that they are wrong and this is the right way and the only way, then it won't work. You're still going to have to fight with the truth, which the truth is unstoppable. The truth is truly who you are. The truth is really you. And that's going to be a whole nother deeper video at another time. But truly, you are the truth. You are the way. And when you experience the truth and you're able to accept all parts of yourself, all parts of reality that's happening, then you will experience the actual truth of life. The more that you experience this and you take in, and you're able to hold different aspects of reality, the more that you're able to see the beauty of it and how everything is working upon each other. Even when we see something that we think is so tragic happening, or we think, this horrific, thing is happening, or this group is wrong, or this or that, they're all working upon each other in different ways. One is showing the other the truth by triggering it. The other one is experiencing that and having to see that in a different light. So everything that is happening for divine order, for divine good. We just don't see that until we begin to accept more and more. It's kind of like when we get to an older age, or even when we get past something that was very hard, like maybe we lost our job, or we went through a divorce or something like that. At the time, it felt like the worst thing ever. We could have, wished the worst upon our boss or the company, or we could have, wished the worst for our ex-husband or ex-wife. But then, some time passes and we're able to look back on that situation and see how that situation helped us to grow. See how that situation helped us to move us to another space that we belonged. And so everything that is happening, we can eventually see it for the good that it held. So everything that is happening for your own good. Nothing that is happening is meant to harm you, but rather to prosper you. And when you have that reality and you're able to be in this world and experience life that way, that's when you begin to see perfection. That's when you begin to see that there are no accidents, that there is no errors that are happening here on earth. Everything that is happening divinely perfectly. And when we see something horrific happening or something happens to us, that is oftentimes a reflection to us to reflect something to us that we are not seeing. And we have to go through that experience. Sometimes it requires suffering. We're not required to suffer, but a lot of times when we're not choosing to see the bigger picture of this oneness and everything that is, then we will be kind of shown in more tougher kind of ways, almost like tough love situations to show us that, so that we have to learn from that, and we can't escape that. We can either awaken through love, through tons of love, or we can awaken through suffering. And you can see from many people's stories that most people are awakening due to suffering, because it's something that you can't escape. When you break your leg or something, you have to pay attention to that. When you go through a divorce or someone hurts you in some way, you have to, you're in that. You can't ignore that. But love, on the other hand, a lot of times can get people very confused, and we don't see the highest love. See, highest love isn't romantic love. It's not about roses and nice dinners and all this romantic stuff. It's a lot higher than that. And that sort of love most people are not able to hold until they go through these suffering type things. So everything that is happening, no matter what you're seeing appear in your reality, stay calm. Just know that these things are happening for your highest good, and you don't have to go in there and fight. You don't have to go in there and become an activist. You don't have to go in there and throw your rock into that river. The river is flowing. It's not going to stop. Truth will always prevail. And so the more that I get older, but not just that, some of the experiences that I've had, my actual life experiences, a lot of times I see things on the news or I hear about stuff, and I'm not triggered to do anything about it, because I know that I live in a different reality than that. And when I abide in the freedom that I have, that alone changes the surroundings around me. So you don't actually have to get into the fight. You can sit back and you can, align to the freedom that you have, live the life that you have, the beautiful life that you have, and those other things will begin to shift and change on their own. Truth and reality is always happening. So even if you don't throw your rock into that river, things will begin to change for the highest good, so long as you see it with love. So abide in whatever it is for you. You're not called to suffer. You're not called to jump in there and throw your rocks at people, or to throw your rocks in the river, or to start some kind of huge demonstration of some kind. Some people have been called to that, and it's been helpful in some ways. But essentially, your highest calling is to abide in this unconditional love that everything already is. And when you experience that, everything around you begins to shift, and you are experiencing that highest timeline. So I know that's a little bit deep to probably get into or understand simply by saying it if you haven't experienced that. But the more that you go through this, you will begin to see the truth of reality and how everything already is unconditional love. There's nothing to fight. There's nothing that needs fixing. There's nothing that you need to do other than simply be. So I hope that this message found you well. If it resonated with you, give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to connect with me to work one-on-one, to walk through these things together, whatever it happens to be, feel free to email me to schedule that one-on-one session. You can find everything in my description and in the comments down below. If you are new here, I encourage you to subscribe to my channel to come back for my daily messages. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you all. I love you all, and I will catch you on our next message.